Hello, listeners. Jinx Monsoon here, and welcome to today's episode of Hi Jinx. Our guest today is not only my husband's doppelganger, but he's also a actor, writer, queer icon, and one hell of a singer. It's Chris Colfer. We talk about our relationships to our grandmothers, the pressures of being a queer icon early in the days of yore, and what it's like to work with Jennifer Saunders. So enjoy today's episode with all my love.
Forever Dog.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jinx Monsoon, and welcome to my podcast, Hi Jinx, a podcast where I, an internationally tolerated drag superstar, get to interview compelling and fascinating people and ask them how they became who they are and how they do what they do so well. Today, I am joined by a wonderful friend, an amazing entertainer, and an accomplished author, the one and only Chris Colfer. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Jinx on Hi Jinx. How are you?
Thank you. You knew it. You knew what to do. It's a pun, you see, Chris.
A pun. Oh, yes. I love puns.
Now, let's start. You and I met, I don't remember the year. I was still drinking then.
1975.
Would you care to tell the story of the night we first met?
Yeah. So I believe it was at Katya's funeral / birthday party.
Yes.
In some very strange location downtown. It's where I tend to meet most of my friends.
Yes.
And I was coming through the backstage entrance, and you were there with a couple of friends, and we hung out that night and have been in love ever since.
Yeah. So you heard it here first, everyone. We met at Katya's funeral. Chris came in the back entrance, stumbled into me.
Yep.
And I told you that was one of the weirdest. I met you moments after one of my weirdest interactions ever at a party where
Right.
two people came up to me and introduced themselves, and I said, "Hi, nice to meet you." And the daddy of the two turns to the twink and said, "See, she doesn't remember you." And then from that moment on, they refused to speak to me anymore, but they just kept looking at me and whispering, but they were only a foot away from me, and I continued to try to engage them in conversation, and they continued to pretend I wasn't there. And I'll never know why I was supposed to
Yeah.
recognize that twink, but
Are you sure that maybe that's like their thing? Like that's what they do that to a lot of people. Like they've never met all these celebrities, but they go up to them and do that routine. Like, and they go home and laugh about it. Maybe they're that type of couple.
maybe that's their kink, and I don't want to kink shame them. But yeah, definitely, it was strange, and it's never happened again. But it does stick out to me.
Mhm.
And I told you there's this weird
Live rent free in your brain.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we've spent time with each other since then. So that's not my one and only memory of you. And of course, we have to get it out of the way. People talk about it every time I post a picture with my spouse, Michael. It's the ongoing joke. Is that Chris Colfer? You and my spouse bear a striking resemblance.
Striking. And
It cannot be denied.
it is kind of one of my walking stress dreams. When people when not Michael in particular, but when people text me or message me and say, "Oh my God, you have to see this picture of this person. They look just like you." You know, like sometimes I open it up and I just cry because I think, wow, that's what I look like to that, to that person. But when you did it, I opened the picture and I was like, oh my God, he literally could be. And in fact, when you post pictures of him on Instagram and I glance at them and before my brain has time to actually process what my eyes are looking at, sometimes I think it's me and I'm like, what am I doing? What? Oh, no, that's Michael. So yeah, it's striking.
We should do some sort of we can swap you and Michael and do a photo series of swapping you in and out,
Mhm.
and see if people can tell the difference. But I can tell the difference. You know, when you know twins well enough, you can tell them apart.
Mhm. Yeah, and the accent too probably sets us apart.
Oh yeah, I mean, he is pretty good at American accents.
Oh,
I'm not gonna lie.
really?
He's better at American accents, I think, than I am at British accents. I mean,
Yeah.
true British accents. I can do what every American actor thinks is a British accent.
Right. We may never know.
If only there was someone we could ask.
Yeah.
So, the world met you first on the show Glee, which premiered in 2009, and you won a Golden Globe in 2011. Now, in 2009, that's so far back. I don't know if you have any memories from back then, but I don't believe that social media was what it is today back then.
No, Twitter wasn't even invented until I think like 2010, I think.
By Edison.
By
And
It's what Tesla left us.
so you didn't have to deal with the social media aspect of celebrity in the beginning, did you?
Mhm. I didn't there was still Facebook and there was still
Yeah.
MySpace and
MySpace.
there were plenty of opportunities for the homophobes and the cyberbullies to find me.
Absolutely.
But no, I mean there was no Instagram, there was no TikTok or Snapchat or any of that. So it hadn't quite boomed yet. Thank God.
How do you feel about your relationship to social media today? Do you enjoy maintaining a social media presence, or is it something that you just accept as a necessary evil in the industry?
Definitely the latter. I'm such an introvert that I probably would not be on it if I didn't have things to promote and books to sell and
Yeah.
and whatnot. However, I do enjoy being on it and watching other people's lives. I do like being an observer. And some people, well, I don't know. Sometimes I've lost such respect for a lot of people because of the social media. And punctuation is a real sticking point for me.
Mhm.
Like if someone has bad punctuation or they use the wrong there, I think I judge them an inappropriate amount.
I think that's something we've been conditioned to do. There's lots of backstories and lots of reasons why people will, not have the same standards for grammar.
Right.
But I do think, for me, what's interesting is internet language is a completely different language. And
Absolutely.
I feel like I need a translator half the time. I work with a new videographer who's like 19 years old, and the fresh up and coming queer videographers of the world. And
I feel like all the videographers are 19. I don't think I've ever heard of a videographer that was over 20.
It's a caveat. It's a stipulation. But he's constantly having to translate internet slang for me and explain to me how my jokes will read. It's
Oh,
actually a
gosh.
perfect marriage.
Yeah.
I want to know what kind of pressures did you feel being one of our early examples of LGBTQ plus characters on television. And you were also, very young at the time. So, you're probably still discovering who you are as a person at the
Mhm.
same time that you're kind of becoming a figurehead for the
Mhm.
community. How did that feel while it was going on?
It was a doozy.
You don't say.
Yeah. It's funny. It's such a. I imagine this is what parents feel like when someone asks them like, "Tell me about your kids,"
Yeah.
because there's just so much. I never even know where to start with this. But I grew up in Clovis, California, which is a very, very conservative place, and it was a very, very rough place to grow up as a gay kid. Not only was being gay just not accepted, it was also downright dangerous. Where kids would get beat up on their way to schools. I knew a kid that got stabbed in a bathroom once.
Wow.
So you didn't even you didn't come out like coming out was just too big of a liability for your personal safety.
Wow.
So going from that environment to becoming arguably the most famous gay teenager overnight
Yeah.
was quite an experience, and it was really scary. I don't think any death threat or security risk or all those things. I don't know how that could not be scary for an
Yeah.
18-year-old. But it was equally wonderful and traumatic because there were so many wonderful things that happened too. I would get the letters from kids all around the world saying, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen someone like me on TV," yeah, and that, I think that was the best part of the whole experience was the being able to connect to kids that had never had something to resonate with before.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we're continually learning how important and how powerful seeing ourselves represented in our media is. And for so long, so many communities have not been represented. And
Mm-hmm.
I have to imagine there is a huge amount of pressure being one of the early examples. And I also want to ask, were you out as a human being
Mm-hmm.
at the same time that you were playing a queer character on television?
No, I was not. No,
Mm.
this is a fun fact. I actually came out on the Chelsea Handler show um before I'd even told my parents.
Mm.
Because I was about, I think I was like 18 and a half at the time. In my 18-year-old logic, I thought, well, if I say it once publicly, I'll never have to do it again.
Yeah.
And I was right. um, but that was also really, that was a tough part of it was because I was so young and I was still trying to figure out who I was myself while
Yeah.
playing by playing Kurt on TV. And a lot of people, I think, especially in the media, they really wanted me to talk about it, and they really wanted me to really uh, represent more than I was ready to.
Yeah.
And my attitude was kind of, I'd rather be on a boat first before I call myself a sailor.
Yeah.
Um, and so a lot of people had issue with that. Yeah, it was a really crazy time.
Well, I mean, you know, it was like a little over 10 years ago now. I'm doing the math in my head. Yeah, that's 12 years um, from when Glee premiered. But it was a different world back then, and I think younger LGBTQ plus people in the community need to remember that 10 years can make a huge difference.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Um, there were so few examples of queer people being represented on television, and very rarely were the actors who portrayed those characters out themselves,
Hmm.
because even playing, I think another great example is Will and Grace was one of our first television shows
Hmm.
with queer characters as the focal point. And even those actors, one of them has since come out, but that was years later, like after the show had even finished, because it was a career ender back then. And as you said, it was a liability, it was a safety issue.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
And nowadays, we have such a wide breadth of representation. Certainly, there's a long way still to go,
Hmm.
but there's a certain amount of safety that didn't exist back then. So
Absolutely.
I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that it came with its hardships, but I think, as you said, for young people seeing themselves represented on TV, You really were a crusader to have done that.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
Oh, shucks. I'm blushing.
We're all trying to eat better, but a healthy breakfast doesn't have to be boring. Magic Spoon has the amazing flavors you love, but without all the bad stuff. Here are the stats on Magic Spoon. 0 grams of sugar, 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs. And that's only 140 calories in each serving. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. I'm talking about Magic Spoon, y'all. And they have this very cool variety pack, which includes 4 flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. And these flavors will take you back to your fucking childhood, man. Like, it's a trip. So go to magicspoon.com/jinx to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use the promo code JINX at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in this product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/jinx and use the code JINX to save $5 on your Magic Spoon purchase. Thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this episode. Now, as we all know, Glee is a TV show that involves a lot of singing.
I apologize about that.
No, I'm so jealous of the songs you got to sing on television.
I got to see some good ones. Thank you.
You got to sing "I'm the Greatest Star" from Funny Girl, and you sang "As If We Never Said Goodbye" from Sunset Boulevard. You sang some of the best showstoppers. And that was you were singing songs written for female characters, which is, I don't know if you know this, but I portray female characters from time to time, so I'm extremely jealous.
What?
What was your relationship to singing before Glee, and what is your relationship to singing now?
Well, singing was something I never wanted to do. My grandmother forced it upon me when I was young. I had an older cousin who used to sing because my grandparents were reverends. My older cousin used to sing at their church every Sunday, and then she moved away. And in a very Mama Rose fashion, like my grandmother turned to me and was like, "You're next, like you'll be great, you'll be swell." And so I was just kind of forced to take over that role, and then I did school plays and theater in high school and community theater. So the skills my grandmother taught me came in handy. And then I went straight from community theater and high school shows to Glee. And I had always enjoyed singing the songs that were traditionally written for women, just because my voice was so high pitched. There were a lot of times I wasn't allowed to sing those songs, like at school talent shows and stuff, because homophobic. So my grandmother would always let me sing whatever song I wanted at church, and then she'd write a whole sermon around it. So I would sing defying gravity, and she would write a sermon about how we all need to defy gravity, and we all need to let the Spirit raise us up, and
because aren't we all Elphaba inside?
we all are. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I worry I'm more of a Galinda. Age-old question for gay men: are you an Elphaba or are you a Galinda?
Do you still sing? Do you keep up with it?
In the shower and in the car. I just sang. My old community theater is doing like a big fundraiser, so I recorded myself singing a song for them to show at like a virtual fundraiser thing. And I also I'm a voice on a Netflix cartoon. I sing a lot on that. So yeah, I'm keeping it tight.
Yeah, the struggles of young male perceived tenors,
Right. Yeah.
Where do
Right.
where's the songs we're supposed to sing?
Right.
If we're not allowed to do a little cross-gender singing, then what do you
What's the
expect from
point?
us?
Yeah.
Now, all throughout your acting career, did you secretly yearn to be a writer? Did you leap towards writing at your first chance? Was this something you stumbled into, or is it something you always kind of planned for yourself?
I when I was young, I started writing and acting around the same time because as a little kid, I thought they were the same thing. Because to me, they were just both different ways to play pretend, essentially. So
Hmm.
I've been writing for as long as I can remember. And one of my favorite places in the entire world growing up was the children's section of a bookstore. And it just something just felt so magical about walking into that, that aisle with all these stories and these colorful pictures. And I knew I wanted to be a part of and contribute to that world in some way. So I started writing very young. My Land of Stories series I started writing when I was about 7. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was an eccentric child. I really needed to be medicated. That was not a thing back then. Um, and I would write a chapter, which would be about 2 handwritten pages, and I would ride my bike to my grandmother's house, who lived down the street, and she would edit it. She would edit my chapter for me, and if she liked it, she'd keep it in a stack on her table. But if she didn't like it, she'd crumble it in front of me,
Oh.
throw it away, and say, "Christopher, you can do better." Yeah.
That tough love from grandma.
I know,
Wow.
right? Yeah, but I mean, it's funny because it was actually one of the most encouraging things too, because it got me ready
Oh,
for
absolutely.
the real world. But to this day, she's the toughest editor I've ever had to work with.
I had a very close relationship to my grandmother too, and I don't think she ever really gave me the tough love. She was full support all the
Mm,
time,
yeah.
In my grandmother's eyes, I could. Oh no, she was fairly critical of my hair as
Uh-huh.
a drag performer,
Ah.
because I actually started doing
Huh.
drag by hiding all my drag at my grandmother's house.
Mhm.
And I would get into full drag at grandma's house and bike down to the all ages queer dance club in Portland,
Ooh.
Oregon.
Uh-huh.
And Nana always got last looks before I left the house. And
Oh.
typically, typically the wig, she had some issue with the wig, but
Yeah.
I was always like, it's too late. This is the wig I'm
Oh my
wearing.
god! The money I would pay to see a young Jinx on her bicycle, just moving through Portland on her way to was it drag prom? What was it? What was it? What'd you say it was?
Oh, so Portland's amazing. I mean, you were talking about growing up in what bumfuck California. I can't remember what you
Yeah,
said.
that's correct. That was it.
Bumfuck.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. You
um,
should see our mascots.
Portland was a really blessed experience. Now, that is to say, I still experienced homophobia. I still experienced bullying at school. I had, some nasty voicemails left on our home telephone. But
Oh.
ultimately, I had a queer dance club that was open every weekend, and that's where I cut my teeth as a drag queen. I had a queer rec center that I hung out at as a teenager. So I had one of the most blessed experiences I think a young gay kid could have,
Yeah, that sounds magical.
It and what I love is that now I think, the younger generation is growing up closer to what I had in Portland. Like it's kind of, there are a lot more safe spaces to be queer and young these days than
Yeah,
used to be.
that was definitely the same experience for me with my community theater. We didn't have like a LGBT ball or anything because it probably would have been burned to the ground. But that was, community theater was like the safe haven for like all the town weirdos like me. And we definitely formed a family there.
Yeah, community theater, theater in general is very special, but community theater, I think, has a very
Nothing like it.
it's a very unique community.
It is. It's so. I blush when I think about like all the shows we would do that were just so culturally inappropriate now. Like Miss Saigon, and not one single person of color in the oh my gosh, yeah, it's hilarious.
I do a show called Jinx Sings Everything, where the audience requests every song that I sing, and I have a pianist, Joshua Cartis in New York, who is able to just like pick up a song and start playing it, or he already knows it by heart and just does it in my key. But I always say, this is called Jinx Sings Everything, but there are things I will not sing. Do not be requesting Flower Drum Song here, you know? Yeah. No Miss Saigon.
Yeah.
The King and I is
Disney
iffy.
Song from the 50s.
But yes, do you have a favorite role that you played in community theater?
Oh my gosh. I was Ralphie in A Christmas Story. And people still talk about that performance. I was Kurt in The Sound of Music, and that was a lot of fun.
So Kurt, the name Kurt has just been following you around for a while.
It has. Yeah. I should name a dog or a child it because but actually I think the most fun that I had in community theater, I used to be one of the spotlight operators. Mm-hmm. So I used to just follow people with the spotlight during the show, and that was always a blast because I would always be like the youngest kid in in the crew, and I did. I literally every little boy you can imagine in a musical, I was it.
I didn't start playing little boys until I was an adult person.
Oh wow!
And then somehow all of my work for like a year, I was just playing street urchins and little angry children and stuff. But
oh my God, wow! My psychologist would have a field day with that.
My first role outside of high school, I played Columbia in the Rocky Horror Show as. It was the farewell performance of a queer theater here in Portland called Triangle Theater. And I was the youngest person in the cast by 10 years. Mm-hmm. I was 17 at the time. I was still in high school. And I remember what a shell shock it was for me when the actress playing Janet turned to me at one point while we were choreographing one of the numbers and said, "It's all right. You can grab my boob." The first female boob I had ever grabbed.
First and last.
Was on stage. So you mentioned
you were a
your books.
Fantastic Columbia too.
I have to say I was pretty damn well cast. It's a fun story because I actually was called in to audition for Frankenfurter, and then at the audition they basically said, we loved your audition, but a 17-year-old can't play Frankenfurter. No one will let us get away with that.
Obvious reasons.
So I graciously and gracefully turned on my heels and started sulking away. And then they said, "Can you tap dance?" And I flipped around and said, "Can I tap dance?" And on the spot, I did a little time step for them. And they were like, "That's all we need to see. You're Columbia." And they gave it to me on the spot. And it was really thrilling for me. I want to talk more about Land of Stories. You have 6 installments out now, correct?
Yes, there are 6 in the. There are. Sorry, I have to do the math in my head. There are 14 books in total for the Land of Story series, and 6 of them are the main the main meat and potatoes of the series, and the rest are spinoffs.
Okay. I'm sorry if you can hear my ice clinking around in my mason jar. So you talked about the children's book aisle being a magical place for you. Is that why you gravitated towards writing children's literature?
Yes, and when I was growing up, my younger sister was very ill. She had a very rare form of epilepsy where she had 50 seizures an hour.
Oh, wow.
And so reading was the only way that I could escape kind of the unfortunate situation my family was going through.
Mm-hmm.
And then that eventually turned into me writing my own stories. And so it was really just a very, very therapeutic release for me. And I just remember so desperately wanting to have the adventures that Harry Potter had, and the kids from Narnia had, and Alice and Wendy and the Darlings and all that. So that's why I definitely gravitated towards the fantasy genre.
And do you have more installments on the way? Are we expecting a TV series down the line? Is there going to be movies?
Yes, I think so. Yes, I think so. Definitely this year I have 2 books coming out this year. One is my first graphic novel, which was very interesting to write.
Ooh.
And it's about Goldilocks. It's called Goldilocks, Wanted Dead or Alive. And so it is. I hope people like it. I think the kiddos are going to like it. And then that comes out in July, I believe, June or July. And then in September, I have the 3rd book to the Land of Stories prequel series coming out. And the prequel series is called A Tale of Magic. So A Tale of Magic is the first one, A Tale of Witchcraft is the second one, and A Tale of Sorcery will be coming out this fall.
Well, I can't wait for A Tale of Witchcraft.
I think you like it.
Don't know if you know this, but I'm a bit of a witch myself. I have to ask you a personal question.
Oh, yeah.
Are you a Disney gay?
Oh, yes. Yes.
They are a special breed
They are.
of homosexual. Do you have plans of getting married at Disneyland? Will that be your honeymoon spot?
Oh, sure, plans, but reality, I don't think so. Actually, for Valentine's Day this year, this is my favorite gift I've ever been given. My boyfriend Will, who you know, of course, he got me a and this will make sense to you because you know me, but so people who are listening probably won't make any sense. I'll just come across as very eccentric, but he got me a taxidermied mouse that is dressed up like Mickey, like with little pants and little gloves and little shoes, and his face is painted white, and he's in this position where he's waving, and it just screams capitalism to me, and it just makes me laugh every time I see it. And it actually reminds me of me and my co-stars during Glee when we would be in similar positions, but just dead inside, like the mouse. So yes, long answer longer. Yes, I'm a huge Disney fan.
Did I tell you and Will about I feel like this happened, but I could be making it up. I just have so many interactions with famous people, it's hard to keep them all tracked in my brain. But
thank you for putting me in that category.
Oh, please, come on. Did you ask me once, like, what's the most interesting fan gift I ever got? And I responded with, I got a taxidermied mouse dressed as little Edie, holding a little teeny tiny magnifying glass. That's my like go-to answer for that question. So I'm wondering if that gave Will the idea.
It might have. That is exceptional. A little Edie mouse. Wow. I'm not like a big taxidermy person. I only own the one guy, but that is outstanding.
Yeah. One thing that our partners have in common is they're both avid readers. Mm-hmm. It's funny because you're a writer, but then your partner talks about how he has to lock you in a car with an audiobook to get you to finish a book.
Basically.
I think there's something to be said for that because I'm clearly a professional drag queen. And then sometimes someone's like, let's watch this movie about drag. And I'm like, I live drag. I don't know that I was so averse to watching Drag Race when it first came out because I had already been working as a drag queen for like 6 years by season 1 coming out. And I was like, the last thing I need to do is watch my work on television, you know? So I wonder if it's similar for you.
The last thing I need to be is exposed to myself. Yeah, I totally get it. Mine is like, I have control issues with stories. Like I want to take over. Like sometimes I'll be in the middle of a book and I'm like, no, don't go there. I want to spend more time with that character. I want to go see that person, and that drives me nuts.
I hear that. When I see a really good idea on stage poorly executed, I'm like, that's a fantastic idea. I just wish it was me doing it because I know how to make that idea come to life. But maybe we just think very highly of ourselves.
It's just narcissism is what it is.
I want to know how your queer identity finds itself in your work. Do you feel like it comes up in your work often? Is it just kind of there in the background? Do you actively insert queer storylines into your work in any sort of way?
That's such a good question. I'm not sure if I really know the answer to that because I've never not had a queer identity.
Yeah.
But absolutely. I can say that my new series, the Tale of Magic series, every book, for example, in the first one, A Tale of Magic, magic is an allegory for being gay. So the entire journey of the main character Bristol was my journey as a gay man. It doesn't for a reader, it doesn't necessarily have to be about being gay. I think everyone has their own little bit of magic that's been oppressed or suppressed at some point in their life. And I think that's also really kind of magical about the way the times have changed, because you don't have to be queer to resonate with a queer story. And I remember that was such a surprise to me and to all the executives at Fox when I was on Glee, was that my number one demographic was young straight women, because they didn't identify with being gay, but they identified with being different or being other. I think it is very much doing that, like being a voice for the voiceless, creating stories and work that hopefully inspire other people to create their own stories and their work, and to give people validation that they have every right to pursue their dreams, that they're just as worthy as any cisgendered normal straight person. I think that's very, very much my shtick.
Yeah. That's lovely to hear. I mean, I get asked a lot, like, how does narcolepsy come up in your work? And I'm like, actually, it doesn't, except for the fact that I am a person who experiences narcolepsy. So I guess it comes up in my work in everything that I do, because I'm just conscious to it, you know?
Right.
Like, I just did a video where I was like, in the video, I was asking myself personal questions, and then I answered, well, it doesn't really come up in my work very often, but here is me asking myself the questions in my work. So I'm like, actually, it comes up in my work in everything that I do, just for the fact that that's my truth, and I write from a place of truth. So,
and by the way, Conscious Narcolepsy would be the best band name ever.
Thank you for finally naming my inevitable band one day. So people can expect 2 more installments of Land of Stories, and then as well, the prequel series, which sounds amazing. I think prequels are amazing when they come out well into the storyline. I love it when you're like, oh, I've taken this story as far as I can go, so now let's go back to before this story.
Yeah, right.
But that's what makes it so satisfying, is you get to see the seeds that are planted that leads to what you've already experienced with those stories. So.
In theory, yes. Yeah. That is the goal.
So we know that you are happily partnered, but I have to ask, Do you have a celebrity crush? Do you have celebrity crushes?
Oh my
Is
gosh, of
if you had
course.
if you had a free pass, this exists in many relationships. Your celebrity free pass, who would yours be?
Henry Cavill.
Okay.
Yeah. I answered that one real quick. Yeah, I just,
You've had this conversation before.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the accent, the fact that he literally could throw me. I don't know why that's a turn on, but
No, I hear you. I hear you. There's something about, when a person's whole hand can cover your entire face.
right. like the alien embryo. Yeah.
I think my free pass list grows longer every day. If I narrowed it down to my top three, it would probably be Andy Samberg, Pete
Oh,
Davidson, and Rupert Grint.
well, that is a type. That is like I feel like they're kind of all in the same funny category.
I say this, but of course, I'm such a slut. It doesn't take much butter to get me into the frying pan, as they say.
You see, I'm the opposite. I'm kind of a nun in that regard. I need romance. I need.
Well, you're a Disney gay.
I'm a Disney gay. Oh, I never put those two together. I'm sure that's
there is why I say it's a specific breed is because all my Disney gay friends are also kind of my most wholesome friends, I mean, still entirely gay as the day is long, but there's a wholesomeness when Disney plays a certain part in your life. I feel like there's an inherent wholesomeness that I personally have never experienced.
there is like a thin line between Disney gays and a youth group.
Disney gays,
so
the Mormons of the LGBTQ plus community.
Exactly. Yeah, it was just so funny because I think I think I project that too. And really inside I'm just a miserable old lady, So it's interesting that I give off that vibe.
It's I mean, just enough of a vibe. It's probably because, I think it's good for you as someone who writes children literature.
That is true. That is true. Yes.
We don't necessarily need to know your bedroom kinks or anything like
no,
that.
No. I'm very tight-lipped about that.
I want to know, are you spiritual? Is there a spirituality? Is there a spiritual alignment that gets you through your day?
Absolutely. I would. I mean, I think like most people, it kind of comes and goes. Depending on on a variety of things. I was raised. This is if you're interested in me telling you this story. I was raised evangelical. From 9 to 10 a.m. on Sundays. And then my grandmother, my grandparents were reverends at kind of a new age, like kind of like the law of attraction and reincarnation and, the universal law of one, that kind of stuff. So my grandmother would pick me up from Sunday school. And then from 11 to 12, I would be that. Because I was also the entertainment every Sunday, singing. So, so I'd say spirituality is a big part of my life, and I've had some strange experiences with ghosts or spirits and
that
whatnot.
was going to be my next question.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And one of my best friends is a psychic, so I experience a lot of stuff through her. Got into an argument with my deceased mother once through her. So
I feel like I'm very pragmatic, but I also believe in ghosts. I feel like believing in ghosts is 50% a choice and 50%, you find ways that it fits into your life. I like to think of it scientifically. I always think of the law of relativity as my explanation for ghosts. Like that energy has to go somewhere. Why not ghosts?
Right. Well, science is finally discovering what magic has been telling us all along.
I couldn't have said it better myself. For my final question, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh my gosh. It changes. I'd say right now it's "Make You Feel My Love" by Adele. Because it's also actually a fairly easy song to sing, so that's nice. I have a big fear of karaoke because a lot of my friends are like Amber Riley and Kevin McHale, and they turn karaoke into concerts because they're just so good. And then it's like, I get up and do Melissa Etheridge as a joke. It turns into an embarrassing situation.
I have to say, I don't have many people who want to go to karaoke with me because
You're so good at it.
I treat it like a concert, but I also oh God, I make myself upset just like thinking about it. But I do the thing where I go up where it's like, oh no, I don't know that I'm going to be
Don't
that
make me
good.
sing.
Don't make me sing. And then I'm belting out "Creep" at the top of my lungs. And then and it's like my friends say,
off the deep end.
my friends are like, don't you get enough of this already? And I'm like, yeah, but not karaoke crowds. Karaoke crowds, you got to work hard to impress those people because they're all stars in their own minds. They're all, we're all the star of our own movie. So,
yeah. Oh, you have such an amazing voice too. I would love to see you at karaoke.
It's obnoxious. It's obnoxious. And I'm definitely one of those karaoke people who bribes the KJ to put me in the lineup sooner. I'm like, here's my submission and here's a 20 for you if I get to sing in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah. I have bribed those people to stop letting other people sing. That's for sure.
Well, Chris, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this interview. Do you have social media handles you'd like to plug? Where can our listeners go find you and find out everything about your book series coming out?
My social media love handles are at Chris Colfer everywhere.
And I would kill myself if I didn't. No, that's dramatic, Jinx. I would be so mad at myself if I didn't acknowledge that you worked side by side with one of my personal heroes, Jennifer Saunders, in the absolutely fabulous movie.
Yes. Check this out.
Oh, there she is. That's fantastic.
Isn't that amazing?
Is that an oil painting?
It's a friend had that commissioned for me for my 30th birthday.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was raised on AbFab myself, and obviously it shaped a lot of the work that I do. The last name Monsoon comes from Absolutely Fabulous. So what are you going to tell Jennifer Saunders the next time you see her about me?
Avoid. Run for the hills, Jen. Run.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for being a guest.
She would love you.
This will come out never.
The best. They would absolutely love you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It was a delight to talk to you. I can't wait for the next time that we get to hang out in person and hug each other. And hopefully by then I will have free clearance to just lick your face and we won't have to be anxious about it.
Yes, yeah. On second thought.
I think that's my plan for post-pandemic. I'm just going to find a way to lick people's faces, just because I can once more.
Yeah, and hey, you know what? But when in Rome, I guess. Yeah. when out of pandemic, sure.
We'll just spit a ping pong ball back and forth between our mouths, and that'll be our new activity. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for everything you've done as a queer advocate, and on behalf of all the young queer teens who looked up to you. I'm very grateful that you gave me your time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Oh, thank you so much. I just adore you. I'm just so honored you asked. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. And thank you all for listening to Hi Jinx. We'll have a new episode for you next week. My name is Jinx Monsoon, and we have a new episode every Wednesday. So make sure to search for Hi Jinx on your favorite podcast app and hit subscribe. You can follow me at The Jinx. That's JINKX. I paid extra for the K, so you have to use it. K is very expensive. And I'll see you next Wednesday for some more Hi Jinx. Get it? Do you get it?
Forever. Dog.
To listen to Hi Hi Jinx, ad-free and 1 day early. Sign up for Forever Dog Plus at foreverdogpodcasts.com/plus. Make sure to follow at Forever Dog Team and at Mom Podcasts on social, and rate and review Hi Jinx 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Hi Jinx is produced by Forever Dog and Moguls of Media, aka Mom. Hosted by me, Jinx Monsoon. Produced by Big Dipper. Editing and sound design by Will Pitts. Executive produced by Willem Belli, Alaska Thunderfuck, Brett Boehm, Joe Cilio, and Alex Ramsey.